edition of Ask Michael Eline. This is where I teach people the law in an unorthodox manner by using examples that we see in the news, case law briefs, but it's all about exposing the Leviathan and its instrumentalities and taking back your rights. Know the law and mean to keep it well. Come here to learn from an expert to know your right. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel.
Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm here in horizontal mode for you today. I'm attorney Michael Eline, and I am a lawyer licensed in California and Texas. I have a background in civil rights and criminal defense, but now I pretty much do workers' comp and personal injury law, and I've had a very successful practice. But my true love is obviously civil rights and helping people who have been abused by the government. And today we're going to try to finish up part 2 of Lane Myers, and Lane Myers now representing himself once again, what's been happening with his case out in Arizona in Pima County, I believe. And I guess he's got a new lawyer as advisory counsel named Resnick. But before I get into that, I have a little bit of breaking news for members of Team MPE, but most of you who follow Chili DeCastro and my Marine brother, BZ Watchdog, know that Brick Jonesy and Letzo TVO got arrested the other day. And so I'm going to cover that as well. There probably won't be that many people in the show today because I went in horizontal, and that means we usually get less audience. But I'm kind of mixing it up because people are complaining about it being in horizontal mode. You old codgers can't see the screen as well. So I figured, okay, what the heck, I'll go horizontal and see how it goes today. I'm almost up to 50,000 subscribers now. So what the heck? Let's see if anybody even got pinged, because we know that YouTube and the deep state doesn't like it when people like me come on and profess forming parallel systems and getting off the government cheese and growing your own food and collecting your own rainwater and homeschooling your kids and homesteading, getting your kids away from the rainbow flag mafia and into a system where they have freedom and liberty, and they have the ability to critically think outside of groupthink, which is the college campus style of thought, which we disagree with here. We believe in individual rights, liberty, and justice for all. We believe in judging people based upon the content of their character and not based upon their skin color or who they like to ball. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. So with that being said, right on. What's the matter, you? Hey, good seeing you, by the way, brother. So everybody give me a bunch of ones for my homie. What's the matter, you? Let's see who else we got here. We got Simba B. I got Quad Pro. I got Greg B. Thanks, Greg. Greg's another one of my financial supporters. And by the way, anybody who throws me a super chat or buys a membership goes to the front of the line as far as answering questions go. And I don't care if it's $2 or if it's $200. I treat everybody the same. And I understand if you've got something to say on the super chats, you can ask questions there. But as a general rule, I try to be fair with everyone. And for the people that have stuck around for a while, I promote them to moderators with the sole and express purpose of making sure that other moderators don't ban them, because I do have a pretty wide variety of free thinkers in my audience. I have libertarians, I have Republicans, Democrats, all kinds of different people. And I don't really care what you guys think as long as you believe in natural law, which is the concept that our rights come from a creator and not from the state, which is what our founding fathers believed. And so I'm a follower of John Locke, and I'm a natural law theorist and natural law advocate. And so first thing we're going to do today is we're going to cover what happened with Letzo TVO and Brick Jonesy. I'm just trying to figure out how to use this. I haven't used horizontal in such a long time. Here we go. So I've got BZ Watchdog's video queued up for when he got a phone call about the arrest of Brick and Letzo TVO. And then if anybody has a link that they want to throw in the sidebar to donate money for them, do that. If anybody knows, like if Letzo TVO or Brick has a link where they're trying to raise money for a legal defense, go ahead and drop it in there. I don't collect money directly for anybody that I help. I've always found that has the appearance of impropriety. I believe that if I'm helping someone, the money goes directly to them. So the next issue is with respect to Brick and Letzo TVO, is that I'm working with John Felix to help him build his nationwide attorney network, so we can find lawyers who, in exchange for getting advertising on our YouTube channels, will be part of our network. and they will come to our aid when we have issues. My big problem is I'm only licensed to practice law in California and Texas, and I primarily just do catastrophic injury cases. And you can obviously see I don't do this show to get cases, because you guys don't call me with motorcycle accidents and big rig truck accidents or man overboard on cruise ship cases. You call me based upon my content, which is usually based on false arrests, civil rights violations, which I try to stay away from unless it's a police shooting or a tight handcuff case, because we've downsized the firm and I don't have the hundreds of thousands of dollars bankrolled anymore to be funding these cases. So I typically will refer those types of cases out. And secondly, a lot of you guys got arrested or injured by cops in other states. And so what we're trying to do is work with John, because John and Chili are the goats as far as I'm concerned. But we're trying to work with John Felix to build this nationwide organization where I can help you guys find a lawyer who will represent you based upon the state that you were injured. And I'm not looking to get paid for that. If you guys want to donate money to help me on my mission to help the channel, that would be terrific, because obviously I would like to quit my day job and do this full time, but I got a wife and family to support. So, a man's got to do what a man's got to do, but at least I'm here for you today, and I'll do my best to go live every day if I can. And now I'm suffering from a severe back injury, so it's been very difficult. So forgive me if I go a little blank sometimes. It's just some of the medicine that I take kind of makes me zone out a little bit. But again, I'm only licensed to practice law in California and Texas. So as I discuss cases in other states, I'm only going to give you my opinions based upon general legal principles or the law of my states that I practice. So don't take anything I say as legal advice. I don't want to run awry of any practicing law without a license laws in other states, but I certainly can give you my opinion as a citizen journalist on what I think is happening with Lane Myers, which is I think he's getting railroaded. But really quickly, hey, good seeing you, Michael, Quintana, and Rami. Thank you. Oh, look. Okay, so we got a link. If you'd like to help support Brick or Let's OTVO, they've got a PayPal, and I'll shoot them over some money later today, by the way, guys. But go ahead and please save that link and share it with your friends. I met Let's OTVO for the very first time in person when we were going to support Chili DeCastro in Nevada when he was falsely imprisoned. And ultimately, he won that case on appeal. And with our financial support as a group of supporters on Team DLZ, we were able to help him afford an appellate lawyer, and he won that case. But not everybody has that support, and so they'll get arrested and they'll have no one to support them. And so I'm hoping with help from people like Brick Jonesy and Let's OTVO and BZ Watchdog and Chili and John Felix that we can form a parallel system to where we can help these guys get a lawyer who just wants to get advertising. I mean, imagine if we had hundreds of auditors, cop watchers, and like-minded attorneys such as myself, which you're probably not going to find, who were willing to share advertising space on our YouTube channels in exchange for a parallel system of lawyers who are willing to help you. That is my vision, and I'm hoping with John Felix's help and your help that we can do that. Because I can't be all things to all people as much as I want to be. I can barely walk sometimes because of my sciatica. So I'm going to keep on fighting as best as I can. So before we get into what happened with Lane Myers in part 2 of the show, we're going to just really quickly going to tune in to what's going on with BZ Watchdog and hear his phone call. Let's go.
Live. Hang on. Hey guys. Hey. I got the infamous Kansas City Accountability on the phone. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, what's the deal, man? I'm about to tell you some shit.
Let me guess. You're being transported to Lee Summit.
No, so Lee Summit had a warrant out for my arrest, and I had a trial date for them.
Is that the post office thing?
The post office.
I knew it. I called it when they told me on the phone.
So check this out. I just
hold on. I thought this was the one for. I thought this was the one for Let's OTVO and Brick. Let me see. Does anybody have the link to? Gosh, sorry about that, guys. So, BZ Watchdog sent me a link. Let's OTVO and Brick Jonesy. Is this the one? Yeah. Released from custody and more. Well, Anyways, I can't find it. I don't have time to try to dig around and find it. I thought this video was just about them, but it looks like it's a bunch of cop watch videos. So sorry about that. In any event, Brick Jonesy and Let's OTVO were arrested. I don't know the full details. I was at the gun range when all this stuff went down yesterday. I got a call. I think it was from Kinetic Customs letting me know what happened. And I definitely want to know. I want to know more. Oh, and here we go. Rami just posted it. So the Transparency and Accountability Coalition is the organization that I support and that I pledge to assist. And it's www.tac-us.org, www.tac-us.org. And if any of you guys can give me the timestamp on BZ Watchdog's video of where they discuss the Brick Jonesy and Let's OTVO arrest, just give me the timestamp numbers. Hey, James Forbes, good seeing you, Mr. Gold. Hopefully I'll be able to meet up with you soon and let my daughter meet your dogs and stuff. That would be really great. Let me see here. Oh, thank you, Chevy. Chevy, again, guys, Chevy has just been really an amazing help to helping me grow the channel. As you guys know, he's the guy who helped me get my son's yellow belt. One of his donations paid for my son's yellow belt and my son's green belt in judo. And that I take these super chats and I share them with my kids and put it, because my kids help me with my YouTube channel. I'm teaching them how to be entrepreneurs, how to do video editing, how to create content. And so they'll not have to work at Starbucks as a barista or go to one of these Marxist run schools and get brainwashed to hate their country. So anything you guys do that helps my channel goes directly to create a new generation of young homeschooled patriots. So thank you so much, Chevy. Give me a bunch of ones for Chevy. And by the way, Chevy, I hope your health is doing well. And also, everybody, please like and subscribe to Chevy's channel. He is my homeboy for sure. Let me see. So James Forbes, thank you for coming. Mr. Gold. Yeah, and I'm glad to see you too, Randy. And let me see. Truth be told. And yes, we're going to definitely talk about freeing Lane Myers for sure, guys. That's what this show is about today. And I got a lot of content to cover. I really wanted to share the video with you, but it's like it's one of BZ's videos that's like over an hour long, and I don't have a lot of time because I got to go to the gun range again today. I'm helping a couple of my friends learn how to snap in and how to BZ Battle Site Zero their weapons in. And as you guys know, that's one of my first loves, is teaching people the art of self-defense. And when I do that, I teach them a little constitutional law course so they can understand that their rights don't come from the government, they come from their creator. And I get into the Declaration of Independence, John Locke, the Magna Carta, the Confirmatio Confirmatum, and the long chain of English common law, which then converted into American common law, except as prohibited by the Constitution. So, you know, I've got a really cool course that I teach, and I like to teach it in conjunction with self-defense. So what we'll do right now is we'll get into the first video, and we left off yesterday on This is a Public Services video. All right, so we left off yesterday on This is a Public Services video. Let me get this dialed into where I can, give me a second, guys. I'll get this thing squared away. Man alive, Jimmy. Man alive, Jimmy. F6, man. So what I've done is I've created the transcript. Hold on, guys. I'm kind of doing this a little bit different. So what I've done is I've taken the transcript that YouTube creates, and then I'm blowing it up on the screen, and then I'm scrolling. So if you're giving me any donations, that you're paying me for scrolling with my finger, so you can read along with the audio recording of what's going on in court as it was streamed the other day. And this is a public services video. And so if you go to the description of the video, I would invite you to click on both videos. One's from Reluctant Prophet. One is from This is a Public Service, and like and subscribe to their stations, their channels, and support them because they are supporters of Lane Myers. And again, I've got no skin in the game other than I'm a like-minded individual who believes in holding the government accountable. I don't receive any money from Lane Myers or any of these or his family. I don't know Lane other than in passing from watching him. When I first saw him, I thought he was crazy, like a lot of people, and that he was out of control, and he might be. But as I watched him more, I realized that he knows the law. He knows substantive law better than most lawyers that I've ever met in my life. And so I've grown to like him, and I've grown to want to support him and his family And irrespective of how I feel about his courtroom behavior, it doesn't change the fact that he's a pro per litigant and he knows his stuff. And so because of that, I'm kind of in awe of him, and I want you guys to also see why I'm in awe of him. And we can try and learn more. And we can look at the good and the bad aspects, because if you cut people off, if you cause trouble with the judge and the court in their eyes, they will find a way to lock you up. So one of the things that I like to teach my people is civility, killing people with kindness, love one another, biblical principles, right? If you can behave that way in court, it disarms the court, the personnel, and it puts the jury on your side. And so that's the only issue that I would want you guys to understand about me. Let's see here. Now, hold on. Before I start, I've got somebody just hit me with a timestamp. Okay, cool. So let me go back really quick to freaking doggone. Just give me 1 second. 21. Hold on. I want to find this. Somebody just reached out to me and gave me the timestamp of 21:47. All right, so let's get back over here. Hopefully you guys can see it. All right, so first things first then. Let's talk about Brick Jonesy and Let's OTVO and what happened yesterday, and then we'll move on into Lane Myers. Sorry about the mix-up, but thank God I got Team MPE and my friends who have got my text numbers so they can text me stuff. You guys are awesome, by the way. Thanks again for joining me. So let's go ahead and hear what BZ Watchdog has to say.
And he's like, well, he was still involved. That bank's been robbed. I said, that's still not reasonable, articulable suspicion to detain somebody. The man was performing a silent audit. He never said a word.
Car.
So they I'm looking at this video. He went live and taking Let's OTVO out of the driver's seat at this military gate for whatever reason. Brick Jonesy's.
They were in their car?
Yeah, at the gate. Brick Jonesy's inside the passenger seat.
What have you detained us for?
They're saying detained, but they're like at the gate. They're not even in. And then they're walking back right here at this video, and I guess they're taking Brick out of the car. Because when I caught the live stream, I heard him say, "Don't you turn off that camera," because it was a black screen. It looks like an Air Force base.
Is that an order?
Yeah, it looks like Chair Force.
What am I being detained for?
One beard this guy's got. Definitely Chair Force.
92. You're not acting to the order.
Fifth Amendment right to remain silent.
You can do that. That's totally fine. So the reason you're detained is because he asked you guys to do a couple of things. You guys just obeyed him.
What have I been asked to do? What have I been asked to do?
You provided credentials to him. You have a driver's license that you gave him.
I gave my ID.
Where's it at?
It's in my wallet. You want me to grab it?
No, not right now. We'll get your wallet later. You mind turning around for me?
But I can do that. Is that an order?
Yes. I'm telling you now to turn away from the sound of my voice.
That's fine.
Put your phone somewhere. You can record. I'm fine with that. I'm not nervous about that.
How are you being detained at an Air Force gate?
It's Chair Force, dude. What do you expect? Look at that undisciplined shave that he's got.
Sounds like they're about to be deported.
Are you an American citizen? I invoke my Fifth Amendment rights to remain silent. All right, we're shipping you off to Guantanamo Bay.
What am I being detained for? So I'm being detained.
You got that
Kinetic
right.
Customs and Racing's in my channel. He just called Michael Eline, so he's being taken. Is already working on their stuff too. Michael's working on it. I was working on Kansas City accountability.
I have a thumb injury.
So,
literally, they're not that loose. They're not that loose. It will swell. It will swell. I have a thumb.
And then it went down. They shut his camera off too. Don't tell him. And if he had Restream,
your phone,
it'd still be recording.
There, right? I'm gonna lock this iPhone.
No, don't.
He locked his phone and shut off.
Looks like there is a worker following.
All right,
here.
so
we're just documenting, guys.
basically you guys got the gist of it. You got to see the freedom fighter getting arrested, unfortunately. And that was Brick Jonesy, by the way. I didn't see Letzo TVO in any of that, but I'm assuming that he's part of that as well. So that's unfortunate. What a bummer, man. Well, I'm assuming that they're out of custody. I'm going to talk with BZ after the Lane Myers show is over. But I've got a really busy day today, guys. So let me just blast through this as fast as I can so we can get down with what's going on with Lane Myers. All right. So again, this first video is sort of towards the end of a hearing several weeks ago on Lane trying to get his counsel fired and his advisory counsel fired so he could bring in another guy. I think his name is Resnick to be his advisory counsel. And Lane wants to be pro per, man. He really is. He is absolutely adamant that he is going to be his own man. And how can you not respect somebody like that? And that's why I've given him the title Braveheart, because I think he is like a modern Braveheart. I've never met anybody or seen anybody as brave as this guy when it comes to dealing with the justice system. I mean, he's willing to stay in jail and not plea out. And that takes a really special kind of person to not give in. And I'll tell you what, I'm sure the prosecutors hate that, because you know that the prosecutors, they like to throw people in jail to try to get a plea bargain out of them. So they can say, hey, look at this conviction I got. Now I'm going to run for office and convict your brother and sister too. So that is a big deal. That's the way they do it. And it's really sad. But you see, what comes around goes around. Look what happened to Letitia. She came up with all these bunk charges and this nonsense lawfare against our president. And now it turns out that she was guilty of far worse things than him. And it's all public record. That's how retarded she is. So an argument against DEI hires as prosecutors, right? But let's get into this video and we'll go from there.
You do need to identify the address with the victims. Victims, obviously, the Victims' Bill of Rights, I would assume, protects that.
So, Your Honor, so one of the witnesses is his partner, and so he has her address. And
We'll
then
just list it anyway.
Okay.
And who is the custodian of records for YouTube to be determined? And how is that relevant?
We're still determining that, which
Yeah.
is why I'm.
So how do I pre-trial interview them without their information?
They don't have it yet.
But they had to have that within 30 days. That's the rule. It's right in front of you.
Hold on. They have to disclose.
Disclosure. They can do continuing disclosure.
Mr. Myers, what she's saying is they haven't determined that yet. They have to disclose to you 30 days after they have the information, not 30 days.
30 days from arraignment. Read the rule right there.
No.
It's plain reading.
They don't have it yet. It's 30 days when they get it.
No, it's not. It's 30 days from arraignment. I don't want to argue with you, but if the rule is right in front of you,
that's when they already have it.
So if Lane is correct, they have to disclose it within 30 days from arraignment. In other words, once they have the information about who the custodian of records is for YouTube, they have to provide that to him within 30 days of arraignment, according to Lane. Now, in California, that's not normally how it works. Normally, it's based upon when the prosecutor discovers that information, they have to turn over any exculpatory or any other type of evidence they intend upon using against the criminal defendant or the accused, if you prefer. So again, I'm not licensed to practice law in Arizona, but if Lane is correct, that would be another pebble to put in his bag for his appeal. So if anybody knows more, or if you're a licensed lawyer in Nevada and you'd like to come on and discuss this with me, I'd love to. I'm sorry, strike that. Arizona. God, I'm losing my mind. I told you guys. I would definitely like to have you on so we can talk about it.
Typically,
in their possession, anything within their possession,
correct.
Within 30 days.
They don't have it.
Okay. So you're telling me they don't have it in their possession? All the photographs, all the witness statements, all the police reports,
they've said they've disclosed. Mr. Parven is going to get you that again, and they're going to redisclose to you again.
So I'm going to get the actual, because it says any and all emails received by the victim. Well, then I read the grand jury, and she received 58 emails, and she's saying this isn't voluminous. There's not a lot of things. Well, there should be hundreds of pages of emails. So how is that not voluminous?
Are there emails in the case?
Yes.
And they've been disclosed?
Yes.
Okay.
So we will.
They're going to redisclose it to you.
Okay.
You're arguing about something no one's disputing.
Well, I don't have it. I've been sitting in jail for 30 days, not even able to prepare because I don't. Right. And that was the thing with Parven. It was like I'm not disagreeing with Ms. Stiles saying I'm not accusing her of not giving it to Parven. I'm saying Lane Myers doesn't have this stuff.
Okay. All right.
So as far as so we have Detective Brown, who's with the Tucson Police Department, So if he wants me to specifically say the address of the Tucson Police
I
Department,
think that would
can
be
do
the best course.
And then as far as the other, we have the victim and then her spouse, and their address is protected, so he
Correct.
doesn't get those.
Okay.
No, she
Yeah.
needs to
So-
give me one address.
No.
He's
No,
a
they're
witness.
victims.
He's
No.
a witness.
Mr. Myers, I'm not going to go down this.
I'm not looking for Matt Walker's address. What I'm saying is I need to be able to put out a way, because I need to do pre-trial interviews with these people. So how do I contact them without their address?
You ask Miss Stiles.
No, you do not go through the state.
No, you do.
You don't. I've been through this with Matt Walker. He
I'm not-
literally told me
You can file a motion on that. I'm not going to hear that
I
today.
literally learned this from Matt Walker.
No, Mr. Myers.
state doesn't
no,
participate.
no. You can file a motion if you want to do it a different way.
Do what a different way?
The state provides the witnesses, and they could.
No, they
sit up-
don't.
Yes, that's the way it's done.
No,
If
it
you don't,
isn't.
hold on. If you don't
Talking
like
about a
that- hold-
deposition or a pre-trial interview?
an interview. If
A
they- if
pre-trial
you don't-
interview
oh,
is
no,
on me to
no,
set up.
No, if you don't like the way that it's done, you can file a motion.
I read the
I'm not going
rules.
to. I'm not going to.
So Matt Walker lied to me then in court.
I don't have no idea what he said.
He
in
told
court.
me.
Mr. Myers, listen to me.
Why-
I'm just telling you, if you don't like the way that it's set up, file a motion.
I don't want to.
That's what, Mr. Myers.
But
Just,
what
no. Listen,
Well, somebody's wrong.
just file a motion. I'm
A
just telling
motion
you,
for what?
to ask to interview people without the state
That's a
president.
deposition.
No, I'm just telling you the way it's done. If you don't like the way it's done, file a motion and we'll argue.
The way
it.
it's done is they give you a witness list, and then it's on me to set up a pretrial interview. If those people refuse to do a pretrial interview, then I file a motion for a deposition.
You
I
can't
went
con-
through this in 9
No,
months of cases.
You
with
can't.
people.
You can't contact victims directly.
Nobody said the victim.
Okay.
I'm
If
talking
I-
about the detective and Matt Walker. They're not victims. They're witnesses, and it's incumbent
Honor,
upon me.
I'm not going to address
the
this.
state is not.
Mr. Myers, I just told you, file a motion if you don't like
Motion
what I'm
for
telling-
what? There's no legally cognizable reason to file a motion to
We're done
interview
with
a
that.
witness.
We're done with that. Go ahead. Next.
Your Honor, I was just noting that in lower courts, it is different about the setup for witnesses. So he may be referring to the way it's done in lower
Yeah.
courts, which is not the way it's done in superior court.
Right.
And so, but we will make sure that all the people are available for him to
Yeah.
interview.
And then, Mr. Myers, what we'll do is they'll arrange to have you come over to the courthouse and you'll interview him at the courthouse.
Who's
Okay.
him?
Them, the witnesses.
All right. So I got to put a motion in for that.
No, you have to put a motion if you want to do it that's different than the way that we normally do it.
So I just got a request from Ms. Stiles.
So,
Yes.
yes, so we will.
Okay, so you kind of heard that, guys. It looks like there's a different process in the lower courts in Arizona than in the superior courts, and that's the same way in California and Texas too. You've got courts of inferior jurisdiction, courts of superior jurisdiction, municipal courts, which are normally like inferior, or even small claims, which were like a little rung below that. So it seems like most states have a very similar court system. Like, I guess they call them justice courts in Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just look at the comments. Good seeing you, Robert Stubblefield. Lenny Molly says the judge is a participation trophy child with a DEI job. I don't know about that. Yes, the ghee shopping. Yes, Robert. I ended up getting a traditional ghee for myself so I can do some newaza with my son, because I'm noticing in his newaza portions of judo that he's missing a couple of key steps as far as he's not doing his hip escapes or his shrimping properly, and a few other things that I can help him with. It's going to be hard because my back's jacked up, but I want him to win this competition that's coming up. So it went good. And then I also went to the gun range, which was even better. Let me see here. Gata, thank you for your comments. And let me see here. Nobody said the victim, Metcalf. Greg B. Greg B, you're the best, man. Lenny Molly says you have a right to face your accuser. That's true, and that's actually biblical. I believe it comes from Matthew, that you have the right to face your accuser. And remember, a lot of our common law principles were taken from the Bible. Remember, most of our original courts prior to English common law were based upon the Roman ecclesiastical courts. That's right. And so a lot of that was carried over. Of course, we know in the English common law, which was passed on into American common law, there was also the thing and the all thing, because remember the Angles and the Saxons, and then we had the Dane law. So it was sort of a combination of all this other stuff and the Roman civil law, and ultimately it became the English common law, which literally means law for the common man, because before that, the common man didn't have law for themselves. It was based upon all they had was the king's law, Lex Rex or Rex Lex, I guess. Yeah, Rex Lex. and then you had the ecclesiastical type courts, and then ultimately, like we got the English common law, and of course we know that all of our founding fathers were proud Englishmen, and they considered themselves to be Englishmen even after they declared independence from the king. They just thought that they were the true Englishmen that were living under the Magna Carta and all of the original laws that the king had been forced to sign at sword point. And the king just, again, like most centralized governments, when he got enough control and a nice, powerful military, went against the people. And we see that happening again here in the United States, don't we? So again and again and again. So it's history repeating itself. Oh, and somebody got me a gift. Robert Stubblefield. Thank you, Robert. I didn't see that. So really quickly, let me find, that must have been really far up there. So I got $20 from Chevy. That was kind of you, sir. And then Robert donated $20 for memberships. Thanks, Robert. That means a lot to me, brother. Thank you so much. And then Wanda Mise, good seeing you, ma'am. I don't see Jody Shiloh. Where is Jody Shiloh? Newaza. Well, Newaza is more the ground fighting of Wasamatayu. So remember, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, what it really means is basically just judo. So Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu comes from judo. And the guy who taught the Gracie family the ground fighting, which is Newaza, was a judoka. And what's cool, and I also take BJJ, or I used to until my back got really screwed up. BJJ is really a refined version of Newaza, and it's taken Newaza to the next level. Like in judo, we're only allowed to pin our opponent for a certain amount of time. So it's about the throw and the pin, and then you get back up. Whereas I could be rolling in jiu-jitsu for 20 minutes trying to get a toe hold, trying to get a, what's another good one? Pyramid, triangle choke. You get really good at butterfly guard. There's all these different techniques that jiu-jitsu is really refined. And so I'm going to go over some of that tonight with my son to get him good at the Newaza. But that's all Newaza is. It's just ground fighting. In jiu-jitsu, we call it rolling. But I prefer judo because of the tradition. It's got more of the samurai tradition, more respect for your sensei, more bowing, more traditional things that I think a young man needs to learn so he'll be a good provider and protector over his family. But any kind of martial arts, you've got to have your son doing it. Get them out of public school, homeschool them. If you want them socialized, have your boys socialized around fellow warriors who protect their uke, which is their training partner. That's what you want. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. And Kinetic Customs, that's cool. If you had a female sensei, if she knew what she was doing. I've seen some amazing female judokas and jiu-jitsu masters, so you don't want to mess with them, that's for sure. a lot of them have something to prove. So you definitely, and that's another cool thing about both judo and jiu-jitsu is it's more based on form. Okay, it's more based on technique. So if you know your technique, you can take on a much larger opponent and destroy them. Now, if your opponent's a striker and a larger man and he hits you, well, you're going to go down. But if you know how to get inside and throw, I think judo's the way to go. Hey, that rhymed. All right, so let's get back into it. That's cool, Kinetic Customs, 5'5" and tough. Yeah, my sensei, my original judo sensei, Nori Bunasawa, he's now, I think, a 6 dan, or like the highest dan you can get. He was like 5'2" or something. And he was a beast, man. I studied under him when I was like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old, I guess. And he's still around, actually. Nori Bunasawa. Check him out sometime. He's got his own fighting system. He basically is sort of reincorporated strikes and other things into judo that were sort of taken out for modern competitions. But pretty cool. Yeah, good man. I hope to meet him again someday. All right, so let's get back into it. Let's get back into the show.
We'll coordinate and we will have a
So they can
courtroom
be
made
present?
available.
Yes.
And they're going to record it
Yes.
and provide me a copy.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So we need to clarify this then. When there's one charge, perfectly normal to do an hour or two on one charge. I got 20 charges. So do I get 20 hours? No, that's silly. So
Yeah, because it's all one event. I mean, you can only ask.
Not all one event, though. According to you, you
Well,
denied a motion saying it wasn't all one
days.
event.
It's over a couple days. I don't know how long.
A couple days.
Your Honor, I think
This is over 9 months.
Well,
I'm sorry. Is he requesting that he be able to do pretrial interviews that are hours long, or is he asking for a trial? Or I don't.
I'm
know what
asking
he's
to do.
specifying.
I'm saying that when you, if there was just one charge, one charge, a pretrial interview that's an hour long is perfectly reasonable for one charge. Well, I got 20 charges. So I need an hour on each charge. That's 20 hours of
No,
pretrial interviews.
that's way too much.
Well, then I'm being prejudiced because
That's too much.
so then, but that's what I'm saying. We need to find a happy medium here because they're going to say one thing, but if I got, and you're saying now you're changing your thing because earlier in the other hearing you said it wasn't one event, so they could charge me with multiple charges for
It's
the
not
same
one
thing.
event. I'm wrong when I said it. It's over a course of time, but you don't need 20 hours.
I'm not claiming I do. I'm saying I'm going from, what's normal is an hour for one charge to obviously that wouldn't be reasonable to have 20 hours, right?
Correct.
So where do we find something that is not prejudicial, that is fair for both sides? How do we come to that when we don't agree on anything? So is the judge going to have to decide that?
So, Mr. Myers, why don't you go through and just ask your questions, and if they become either repetitive or argumentative, then the state can say, "Hey, we're not going to allow this witness to be interviewed." And then you can come to me. Hold on, you can come to me, and we'll decide it.
The state doesn't get to say anything during the interview. The state isn't the witness's lawyer.
Mr. Myers, you have to behave yourself during the interview.
Oh no, I'm not saying behave myself, but the state doesn't get to object to my questions.
Well, no, it's not a deposition. I've never had someone that had a problem interviewing witnesses.
Me neither.
So,
but my point being is you just made it seem like the state can object to my questions of the witness. No, the state can sit there and observe only. The law is clear on that. The state can sit there and observe. They're not representing the witness during the pretrial interview. They don't get to say, we object to this question.
I agree.
No, they don't. That's clear.
Your Honor, I would just note that I can put a stop to the interview if he's becoming abusive in the process.
That's completely subjective, though.
Well, but if you start yelling at somebody,
I'm not going to.
Right. Well, so in essence, that is true, at least in California or Texas, that if the prosecutor finds that Lane is becoming abusive or aggressive, hostile, they can actually end the questioning, and then a motion would have to be filed by Lane to basically have the court ultimately arbitrate or referee as to whether or not it was too abusive or whatnot. And then parameters would have to be set if the judge agrees with the prosecutorial team. And then a new framework would be put in place. And then Lane would, of course, have the right to recall the witness. So it would just drag out time. And remember, all this time Lane is incarcerated. So he's obviously upset. He's aggressive. He's excitable. And wouldn't you be if you were locked up and denied the ability to use a law library all these weeks after you'd been promised by the same judge that you would have access to a law library? Wouldn't you feel as though you were being denied justice? Wouldn't your family, wouldn't the average person on the street with their own eyes think that this is an unjust proceeding? Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. Give me a bunch of twos if you think that it was just to promise Lane Myers that he would have access to a law library and then disallow it by de facto not having a law library, apparently for at least 2 years in that jail. And wouldn't you think that whoever was sending him to jail, especially the prosecutor, would have pointed that out to the court at the time that he was sentenced to being held away pending trial? I mean, to me, when I see things like that, that's the reason why I became a lawyer, is so I could put an end to this nonsense. It's extremely unfair, in my opinion. And I would assume that most people with common sense would agree with me. What do you guys think? Put it in the comments. What do you guys think? I'd like to know. In fact, let me see. Now, Christopher says that the judge knew there was no library there. Well, I don't know that that's true, but if that is true, that would be something that could be forwarded to the Commission on Judicial Performance in California. Now, unfortunately, I've never really seen any strong action taken against judges or prosecutors for violating their oaths or being deceitful. And I think the only way that we, the people, are going to be able to change the system is either from within by becoming a lawyer and ultimately a judge, or recall elections. I don't see any other way around it, guys. And I hope that you would understand that. It's easy to throw rocks and be an armchair general, but it's entirely another thing to become an activist and try to make changes. And so I'm hoping that as a result of my show and with people like John Phelaks and Chili DeCastro, that we can do things to effectuate change and make this world a better place, more like our founding fathers wanted. And we can start by protecting our borders and making sure that only citizens have the right to vote and not counting illegal aliens in the census for purposes of redistricting. We don't want a single party state. The more political parties we have, the better. The more division we have in government, the better. We do not need a totalitarian state, which is precisely what we'll have once we become a single party state. Once the left picks up these 13 new seats that they're going to pick up based upon these 20 million illegal aliens, this country's done. There will be no more Second Amendment, and it's basically going to be like communist China. Mark my words. Now let's get back into the show. All right. Hopefully you guys like that little dig at what's going on in our government right now. Here we go, guys.
To do that.
Okay, so I'm not going to get into.
I'm talking about like they can say we object to that question. It's not trial.
You can't object. You get to ask your question.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Right,
it's not a deposition. But if you're abusive or
that's
repetitive,
different.
then that's too much.
That's just being. That's just
Mr. Myers. I'm
obligation to.
Correct.
I understand my professional obligation. I'm talking about the manipulation of the process where they try to object to a question or something.
Mr. Myers, I just said you can ask your questions to your witness. You got to listen to what I'm
So
saying.
I heard what she said though. She said that if I object or whatever, and it's like she can't just.
Your Honor, the plan would be that we will set up the interviews. If there is something that comes up during the interview process where we feel that the process should not continue forward, then we will stop the interview and then we will file a motion with the court, and then the court can address it, and then we can resume the interviews as
Mr. Myers, that's just how all discovery issues are happening.
This prejudicial language about you're already, oh, Mr. Myers, if you're abusive, you're prejudicing me on the record.
No, I'm not.
No, she is. Oh, well, if he gets abusive, and then she said earlier,
Mr. Myers.
Well, if he gets abusive, why don't I get a chance to uphold my professional obligations before we?
Hold on. You're arguing about something that hasn't happened. I said you get to interview the witnesses. Just please listen to
biasing.
Well, look, I mean, so was she. I mean, to be fair, the prosecutor was also arguing about something that hasn't happened, which obviously is going to inflame somebody like Lane, who's not a lawyer, but he's really good with substantive law. Procedurally, he's not 100%, but not even lawyers are. So I just find it does appear, just from my professional opinion, a little bit teetering on prejudicing him, at least in his mind, by saying things like, well, if you do this or if you do that, and then saying, well, Mr. Myers, you're arguing about something that hasn't happened, but it was the prosecutor who brought that up, who argued originally about something that hasn't happened. And I didn't hear the court admonish the prosecutor. And so just from my point of view, it's almost like you can see the writing on the wall. I think when I was younger, and I used to watch, the Three Stooges and old black and whites, like from the 40s and 30s, and they would say the fix is in, right? Have you ever heard that term? You older guys, the fix is in. That gives me the feeling that the fix is in, right? Just by some of these comments that are being made, to me, it feels like the fix is in. What do you guys think? I mean, I just think that's really uncool. And I can see why Lane is terrified and why he's probably suffering from post-traumatic stress from all this. I mean, doesn't it look like the cards are stacked against him? He was promised that he would have access to the law library, right? When he was locked up, and he never got access to the law library. I mean, come on. I mean, if you're a judicial officer, I believe that you have an ethical obligation to make sure when you make someone a promise that it will be kept. And that is not just my opinion, but that is from my friends who are retired justices on the Court of Appeal. And I also used to be a judicial extern for the Court of Appeal. And I think that it was wrongly decided the way that went down. And I'm disappointed, to say the very least. It's because it gives the entire judicial system the appearance of impropriety, and that the fix is in against other people who work outside the normal boundaries of what the state bar may have decided is right. And remember, the state bar isn't the ultimate arbiter of what's true and false and what's right and wrong. It's not. It's we, the people, who make these decisions. And yes, I get it. Lane can get out of control. But wouldn't you agree that you're going to make someone get out of control when you make them promises, or you use veiled threats against them, or you make prejudicial comments against them, which puts them on the defensive? I would agree that that's true. I'd like to see what you guys have to say. Put it in the comments. Let's keep going.
No.
Not you, her.
No.
Saying, well, if he gets abusive.
No.
Do they say that about every person?
Mr.
No,
Myers.
They don't say that when
Myers,
other people are going to do it.
You take the win. I said you can interview the witnesses.
Thank you.
They're not prejudiced. Nothing's happened yet.
This constant reference on the record of me being potentially being abusive and all this. is just designed to prejudice
No,
me.
I don't work that way.
Well, then do you allow other people? So when there's two defense attorneys sitting here, do they clarify and qualify every statement with, well, if he
Powerful.
is if he's
Mr. Myers.
abusive?
I mean, guys, I got to tell you, I can't believe that Lane's not a lawyer, because he makes arguments that most lawyers would forego or simply not recognize as being a substantive argument. And this is a substantive argument that I believe shows a pattern in practice of prejudicing Mr. Myers. If this was California or Texas, what do you guys think? And I can see why they want to lock the guy up. I mean, if I was on the prosecutorial team, I would want to silence this guy too. If I was a statist, a big time administrative state person, I would want to get this guy silenced immediately. He makes him look bad. What do you guys think? I think he makes him look bad.
Over if he's
Okay,
loud,
Mr.
or if
Myers,
he yells.
Mr. Myers, I said you can interview the witnesses. That's the rule. That's all I've said. No more, no less. Okay, so we're going to come back in 2 weeks, and we're going to set a trial date unless the presiding judge
Different
grants
than
it.
the 21st.
No, remember we've only said it in one case. Remember, we're
Wouldn't
gonna,
they be on the same now that it's consolidated? Isn't it all one trial?
it should be, but you didn't want me to set that today.
Well,
Well, I can
because
set it today if you want.
because like I said, and this isn't threatening. It's just the course of the proceedings.
Do you want me to set it or not? As to both cases.
Oh, I mean, I just wanted to make sure when you said that the one in the 21st didn't disappear.
No, it's still there,
Okay.
but I haven't said it to both cases.
That's
but
what I want to make
I
sure
intend to, but
that
you didn't want me to do that today.
Right. I just wanted to make sure you didn't get rid of the 21st.
Nope.
That one's still there. The other one isn't. And I'm going to file my stuff. And now, as far as a disclosure request with them, how much, because, this goes back to the original case. At the beginning, the first case, right away in the case, I filed a request to basically a motion to compel. So, you said, well, you got to have meet and confers and stuff. Well, how are we supposed to have meet and confers? And then when they're past their deadline, I want to file. I believe at this point, they haven't disclosed things they should have. And so how do we have this meet and confer if we don't have a chance to talk? Because I feel like I should be able to file a motion to compel already.
Well, if you think there are things that they haven't disclosed, you have to ask her for them first. And if she says, we're not going to disclose, then you can file a motion. I've not heard her say that they're withholding anything from disclosure.
Well, I already gave the motion, though. I already gave the request back at the beginning.
Well, follow up with her.
Okay.
Okay.
Because remember you
Right.
said I'm not going to rule on it yet?
I'm not going to rule because you have to meet and confer. That's a rule in the.
And I want to ask you a question about a settlement thing.
Well, this is interesting because if he filed his motion, at least in California, that would be tandem to a meeting and conferring. And if the court has refused to rule on the motion that was already filed, that is in effect meeting and conferring. If you've got paperwork filed with the court, in essence, in my opinion, that is meeting and conferring, especially in Lane's position. And also because Lane is not a lawyer under Balistreri versus Pacifica, which is a Ninth Circuit case, the Court of Appeals says that you have a duty as a judicial officer not to hold technical or procedural deficiencies against a pro se litigant, so as to ensure that the litigant doesn't lose a fair hearing on the merits. And I just kind of find that there's a fine line here when I look at what's going on. I think, based on my professional opinion, if this was California and Texas, that Lane is losing a fair hearing on the merits based upon nuances. In my opinion, the prosecutor has a duty to turn over anything that's exculpatory, even things that tend to prove his innocence. And if he's got a motion that the court has refused to rule on, that's a problem for me, because at the very least, right there in court just now, Lane Myers has again met and conferred. By even mentioning it, that is meeting and conferring right there. He just did it in open court. I've never seen anything that says you have to make a phone call or you got to send him a letter. He's meeting and conferring simply means I'm meeting with you right now and conferring and saying, I want my evidence. And for the judicial officer to come and say, we have to meet and confer first, to me, I would argue personally that is the court practicing law from the bench, because that is not how I would perceive that requirement to be. I would simply say to opposing counsel, well, he's meeting and conferring with you, Madam Prosecutor. What say you? And so I feel as though it does appear that Mr. Myers' case is being prejudiced judging it through the spectacles of someone who's been practicing law for over 20 years in California, and also as a new Texas lawyer, based upon my understanding of those jurisdictional precedents. And so I do have some issues. I do take issue with the way that Lane is being treated here. I have a problem with this.
Because they said they were going to report Parven to the bar if he didn't force me to have a settlement conference. And so he came over there and tried to get me to sign this paper saying that he's not being unethical. So does that stop time?
So,
I'm not aware of that. I don't.
Your Honor, I have no idea
Of
what he's
course she
talking
doesn't.
about. What I indicated with the settlement conference is if Mr. Myers is interested in a plea agreement, that we should go to a settlement conference so that we can have a discussion with the court and then work out the terms of that. And then my understanding from Mr. Parven and Mr. Myers in court is that he is not interested in a settlement conference. I thought that would help facilitate a non-trial resolution if he is interested.
In other words, lock up the defendant and try to strong arm him into settling. And what Lane is saying is that his attorney was threatened with being reported to the bar if he couldn't strong arm Lane into settling. In other words, pleading out to a criminal offense while he's locked up. I mean, this is unbelievable to me. I'm interpreting this for you so you can understand it from my perspective as a lawyer.
I take it that you want to go to trial. If you want a settlement conference, she can try to request it before another judge, and you could both attend that if you'd like.
My question is does it stop time?
No.
So you can still be on speedy trial and have one.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to set your trial within speedy trial.
No, I know.
The settlement conference
somebody's lying, because Parven came to me 2 days ago and tried to get me to sign a form saying that he won't be held responsible for the Bar Association because Rachel was or Miss Stiles. Now, I'm not saying Miss Stiles said this. I'm saying what he told me. He came over there in a big panic. Oh, Miss Stiles is going to report me for ethical violations if we don't have a settlement conference. And I said, what? And she said, yeah, she thinks that I'm stopping you from remember now, this is third party, secondhand. I'm just playing the telephone game here.
Yeah, hearsay.
It was presented to me that Miss Stiles is going at Parven and saying that she thinks that he's being unethical by not convincing me to have a settlement conference. And then he came over there with this form he wanted me to sign saying, I told you about it and I can't be reported for ethics, and I refused to sign it, right? So my thing is I've been in the jail for 35 days. I've talked to 65 people. I've read their plea bargains. Not one of them had a settlement conference and they got a plea bargain. So, and before the last hearing, Rachel was asking me about having a settlement conference. Well, why, I get it, but why would you arrest somebody and indict them on all these charges and then not want to go to trial and convict me? So to me, that's a red flag. Okay.
So hold on, Mr. Myers. So the state can offer a plea if they want.
But why would they?
I'm not. They do oftentimes. They don't in every case.
Well, if they got all the evidence to convict me, why would they want to do a plea bargain?
Well, because trials are very time consuming and expensive, and people often will agree.
Yeah, and that is true, by the way. I mean, the purpose of from a prosecutor's perspective, they get the conviction. It looks good on the record when they run for higher office, right? But it also does help reduce the amount of tension on the judicial system. I believe when I was working at the Court of Appeal, they said it would expedite the efficient administration of justice. I believe that was the language that they used. So anyways, let's keep going. Pretty good so far, right, guys?
To a plea. But if you don't want a plea,
I sent them a plea bargain and they have ignored me since I've at least 35 days. And why can't it be in front of the trial judge? Why does it need to be a different judge?
It's just the rule.
No, it isn't. It says if the parties agree, it can be the trial judge.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to me,
you can go to a settlement conference for a different judge if you.
Is it confidential?
Yes.
Yes. It doesn't come back to me.
And to me, if they wanted to give me a plea, I would have got one in the mail already.
I
mailed her a plea.
Hold on. We're going down. If there's a plea in the case, I'll take your plea.
I don't conference thing is they keep asking for it. So is it something we need to do?
I think no. It has no effect on the trial. If you want to try to settle a case and you're far apart, you can go to a settlement judge and try to negotiate a plea. But there's no obligation to do that. They don't have to give an offer, and you're not.
Parven was in between us trying to block this settlement thing because he wanted to have his fancy litigations. You know what I mean? And so I told him to talk to her about a plea bargain, and he said no, because I want to file these motions and challenge the statute. Okay. And so I said, well, if I at least want to hear what they got to say, but I'm not waiving time for that.
Yeah, no, the time is not waived. If you all want to talk about settlement, you can talk about it. Sometimes it facilitates it to have another judge conduct a settlement conference.
Right.
It's not required. That's all between you. I'm not going to continue the trial date for that stuff.
No, I don't want to. I'm saying
Yeah.
because he was making it seem like it was either or. It was either
No.
we can file these motions and keep your speedy trial, but if we go to a settlement conference, you're waiving your speedy trial rights.
No. It doesn't waive speed trial.
So is that something that we have to talk? Like, we can't set, the court has to set it. We
Well-
don't have that without the court. It's a court officer's.
I think
And look, guys, like for the people that are just joining me, you can tell, look, Lane doesn't have the big Latin vocabulary, and he calls it the thing and the stuff and all that, right? But if you listen to what he's saying, he's on point, and he's asking all the right questions. And I'm blown away by the guy. I mean, I look, if I was the judge or the prosecutor, I would at least have an enormous amount of respect for Lane. He is a formidable legal scholar. He knows his stuff. And I think that if Lane could learn a little bit more civility, which I think he's learned a lot since the court basically has ordered him that if he doesn't act more civil, he's going to be denied the right of self-representation, that Lane has become a far more effective litigator, like night and day. And I am extremely impressed. And I think that order by the judge has basically brought Lane about 70%, made him 70% more effective. I don't know. What do you guys think? Give me a bunch of ones if you think he's more effective when he doesn't cut people off and he has to let people finish their sentences and what they have to say. Give me a bunch of twos if you liked it better when he cut people off all the time and got the judge super angry. I just don't think that's going to get him a win. But I think that in this case, it's like the holy angels, the archangels are looking down on him and helping him out. Let's keep going.
clarify, I will reach out to courts to find out who's available to do it. And
So
then
there are judges who might be available, and typically one of the lawyers contacts the court, and Ms. Stiles can do that. And if you all want to attend one, you can attend it. That doesn't affect how the case proceeds.
How do we get to that point?
She'll make a request.
So if you're interested in doing that, I will just get it. I will
Need the
contact
court
the
date.
courts and
Yeah,
get it set.
you need
Yes.
to talk to her about that.
Well, that's tough.
Well, you
There
guys
you
do
go.
that. That's not
How do
my.
we even talk when I try to call there and the numbers blocked?
Exactly.
I know that's not, she didn't block me, but it's something with the jail not being able to call the
There you
prosecutor.
go.
I will set up meetings. So I'm working on setting up so I can do a Teams visit with him at the jail. Then
Okay.
he can talk to me.
All right, we'll see you in 2 weeks, okay? With that, we're adjourned to yours, Tuesday.
Woo, man, that was really
Yeah.
something. So let me wow, that was hot. That was hot. So how long we been on now? So guys, we've been on for about an hour and I still haven't gotten to I still haven't gotten to Reluctant Prophets video. So I'm going to try to start on it, but I didn't really want to go over an hour today, but I'll at least get it started, okay? And let me just see if there's any questions or any super chats over here I need to deal with. Lenny Malley was asked to become a judge. I would say so too. What's the matter, you? So I'm at a 160, and I would say Lane's processing speed is faster than mine for sure. I would say that Lane is probably in the 160 to 170 range, and he's got a super high IQ. So I think absolutely. Let me see. Now, James Forbes says that Lane needs to calm down, and of course that's what I've been saying all the time. But it doesn't detract or take away from the substance of what he's saying. And that's what I've been trying to impress upon people is don't judge him because he has a personality you disagree with. Judge him based on the content of what he's saying. And what he's saying has great legal and factual merit, in my humble opinion. And this is coming from someone who's practiced law for over 20 years now. And prior to that, I was a paralegal. I've done thousands of depositions. And I think that I know a little thing or two about what I'm talking about. So let's see if there's any other. James, he is smart. You're right. Liberty, ladies and gentlemen. Lenny Malley, good seeing you again, buddy. Geta 1, thank you for coming today. And man, there's just so many comments. I couldn't possibly get to them all. Okay, well, if any, look, I know that I've been scrolling, so if anybody gave me a super chat or anything that I'm supposed to talk about or address, please let me know, because I don't want to leave anybody out if you had something to say. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start the reluctant prophet video. I'm still trying to figure out how to use this thing. Jiminy Christmas. All right. So now I tried to queue it up right around the time that I think that it was supposed to be. Let's give it a shot.
Here we go.
This is a status conference regarding the upcoming trial as to both matters. Parties' appearances will start with the state.
Rachel Stiles for the state, and the victim is present.
Lane Myers.
Okay.
On behalf of myself.
All right. And great. So when we were last here on the newer case number, we had set trial for July 21st, which I have to move to the 22nd because my trial start date is on a Tuesday. And then we consolidated the cases, but hadn't confirmed the trial date as the first matter. And Mr. Myers, you said you were going to file a motion to remove me for cause.
Yeah, well, what happened is that they still didn't, so, you know, I'm supposed to get envelopes when I request them. So I went back to the jail thinking I was going to have an envelope waiting for me to send the motion in. And I just got the envelope on Friday. So it's kind of hard to do anything when you request these envelopes. Like they said, I can did on the 17th. They confirmed I would get an envelope the morning of the hearing. I was like, oh, when I get back, I'm going to file it. And then they finally gave me the envelope. What was that? The 9th, May 9th. So it was hard to do it within 10 days. But I have a bond motion that I just filed.
Okay, I want to talk about the trial date because that's what we're here for. Ms. Stiles, I take it you still want to set them together and starting on July 22nd?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so I'm going to move the trial date from the 21st to the 22nd because the 22nd is my start date, 10:30 a.m. And that's as to both CR numbers are consolidated for purposes of trial. And we're still, I have that set as a 1 week. Well, Mr. Reddick, I understand that works with your schedule too.
I'm with you right now, Judge. The 22nd of July?
Yeah.
Does that leave enough time for sentencing within the speedy trial?
Sentencing, it's only if you're convicted.
Well, it's still got to be within the speedy trial.
No, it's just when the trial starts.
Well, you have to be sentenced within the 150 days. That's case law. That's Supreme Court case law.
All right, you can file a motion on that. Mr. Reddick.
The 22nd.
Okay, so trials started on the 22nd at 10:30 a.m. And let's see if we have a status conference.
And so just really quickly, what happened here is that Lane was trying to file a motion to have this judge disqualified for cause. And just like he said last time at the last hearing, look, the court, the jail and the prosecutor aren't getting me the things that I need. Like I don't have paperwork, I can't make photocopies, I can't do anything. So how did you expect me to file this motion to dismiss you for cause? And so of course, what's happening? Well, nothing's happening. The same judge is still on the case. And it's another argument on appeal for Lane that his case is being prejudiced. I mean, right from the very beginning, he was promised that he would have access to the law library. He's not had access to the law library, at least up until just recently, as far as I know. And I don't even know how he would be getting access to it. I did hear that he was being allowed to like go on the internet for like an hour a day to do some legal research, but that's not the law library, number one. And also there's no way you can confidentially do research. You're being monitored by the jail. So in my opinion, you're being denied the ability to adequately defend your case. And I think these are all issues for appeal. And it's unfortunate that the judge isn't using his inherent sua sponte power to release Lane from jail just based upon the inadequacies and injustices so far that he's suffered. In my opinion, had this been in California or Texas. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. Let's go.
Let me see what I'm doing.
He's not treating him as
Let's set a final status.
an impartial lawyer or his own lawyer.
And that's reluctant prophet talking there.
So we'll have a status conference on Monday, July 14th.
July
And again, it is a firm trial date. I'll extend it based on extraordinary circumstances. If either side files motions, please secure hearing time for my judicial assistant. And the deadlines are those set forth the rules of criminal procedure. All right. And did we address the questionnaire before?
The Mr. Johnson, or, I mean, not Mr. Johnson, what was his name? McDonald, right? The judge that you were missing.
Right.
Of course, I didn't find out about it till I got this big file from Parven the other day. When he was here and we did the first July 21st, he said something about he wanted it within 60 days or something, the questionnaire, you know, and I just found that out like last Wednesday. But he said that on April 15th. So nobody even informed me of that until I read it myself in the
But
minutes.
the question is, do you want to use the jury questionnaire?
Your Honor, we're not asking for a questionnaire.
Okay. Mr. Resnick, would I advise him? Yes. Well, yeah, let's do it in morning calendar.
You can just tell the attitude shift and the anger with all of these people for everything that's going on, even though they're the ones that are causing it and dragging.
So you're asking, do I want to do it?
Do you want a questionnaire?
Yes.
Okay. So plan to have a requested questionnaire. Proposed questions we do on
right firm audits. Great.
June 5th.
And Your Honor, can I just raise one issue with that?
Yes.
My concern for having a questionnaire in this case is if they learn that if we're putting any questions in there that alert people that to his name and that it's a social media type case, that essentially what they'll go do is they will go look. And
But so let me just clarify something with you. So my response to that, if I was the judge, would be IDGAF. Okay. During voir dire, I was sworn as a juror that I would not do independent research. So who the hell does she think she is to basically say on the record that she thinks that the jurors are going to commit perjury and do independent research? I just think that it's overreach, and I think it's totally unfair. And if she's concerned about the prejudicing of the case, let me tell you something. If it's going to prejudice the case, it's going to prejudice Lane Myers, not her. And since when does a prosecutor care if a defendant's case is prejudiced by an act of the defendant's own doing? In effect, she's acting as a defense attorney on behalf of Lane Myers, exceeding her role as a prosecutor, in my opinion, if this was in California or Texas. I want to know what you guys think, but I just think that she's got great disdain for him, and she's patronizing him and acting outside her scope as a prosecutor by making these comments. Well, let's keep going.
I think because everything is online in this case, that we run the risk that to the jury pool, which is why I would have concerns about a questionnaire in this particular case.
Mr. Myers, your response?
Even the case law, so if we reverse that, I would not be able to, I've read the case law about child publicity and all that. I would not be able to claim prejudice if people saw it on the news, because if it's on the news, it is what it is. And I've read all the case law about, because I was looking at, can I change the child to a different county and all this, because people might know about my channel and all this. And the law is clear, they need to prove prejudice. They can't just request it. They can do that in a motion later or something, because unless they can show for sure that their case is being prejudiced, just the fact that it's on the news isn't enough prejudice, and it's not even on the news. It's my own channel, so it's
well, I think there's a higher risk.
But it's also Lane Myers' case. The only prejudice that is the problem here would be the prejudice against the accused. What prejudice is there against the state for people to know that Lane Myers is a hothead who loses his temper and engages in behavior that most people, unless they're like me, who is a live and let live kind of person, may consider to be odd or unusual, right? What prejudice is there to the state's case against Lane Myers? If anything, it would help the state. So it's just like every little thing they want to fight him on. And it's so petty to me that I'm just blown away. It's almost like, why are you taking so much interest in this guy? Is it because one of your own happens to be married to one of the alleged victims? Is that why you're taking such a hard line on this? Is that the real? That's what it looks like to me. To me, it does not look like a fair case. It looks like a Letitia James kind of a case where we have a prosecutor trying to put their own personal well-being and political future in front of a fair and impartial justice system. That's how I feel about it.
It's not just on the news, but they could go to your channel. Your channel's publicly available, I take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's First
Amendment,
Like,
like,
they have the
yeah.
but there's nothing stopping them from doing that anyways, once they know that they're my juror on the day 2 of the case. After the first day, they could go and read it.
That's right.
So I'm going to encourage them to do.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Well, I'm gonna.
And this is
Well,
just,
Mr. Myers, you can't do that.
Well, I'm gonna.
Well,
I'm gonna tell
I'm
them
not
to
going to
like,
let
share,
you.
and
Hold
subscribe.
on. I'm not going to let you represent yourself if you start talking like that.
Okay, I get
You can't. You can't. One of the main rules of a trial is you can't go to the event location, and that's kind of what this is. So, for example,
Well, that's not always true either. I mean, we saw that happen with O.J. Simpson when he murdered his wife and that other guy. We had the juror go to the location. So yes, the jury can go to the location. So I disagree with that, and I'm pretty sure that Arizona has a similar rule. I mean, yeah, you'd have to file a special motion and all that stuff, but it definitely can be done. It's not a problem. So I don't know. I don't understand what's going on here, guys. This is getting a little confusing to me now.
example, let's say that it was a shooting in a parking lot. The jurors can't go to that parking lot and look at where the shooting.
They're not supposed to do research. I know.
Correct.
I know.
And that would include looking at your channel.
Would that include you reading the transcript of the grand jury to do the slap motion when it's not part of the record?
That has nothing to do with what the jury hears. They wouldn't.
Well, you're only supposed to stick to the facts in the record too.
I did.
No, the grand jury transcript's not part of the record.
It is.
You told me it's not.
No, I didn't say that. I said I normally don't get it. But remember, you reminded me, and I had requested it to read it in that case.
So
it is part of the record. If you're convicted and it goes to the Court of Appeals, the transcript is part of what goes to the Court of Appeals.
Because I thought there was no independent fact finding.
I didn't. It's part of the record.
I'm saying for.
And by the way, the process of bringing a jury to the scene of the crime is called sequestration. It's one of the things that you can do. So anyways, guys, I've got to get out the door, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to stop this at 35 minutes. It looks like 34:56, and we'll come back tomorrow. Now I know that Lane has, I think, a hearing tomorrow, and I don't want to interrupt. This is a reluctant prophet, or this is a public service if they're going to be simulcasting it. Honestly, guys, I'm not looking for like publicity out of this. I want you to follow their channels, and I'll use their sources and substance to do a later channel to do like an attorney reaction. I'm more of an adjunct. Oh my gosh, thank you, Gata. Gata just threw me. It looks like oh my God, are you kidding me? No, that was far too kind. Guys, give me a bunch of ones for Gata 1, a $200 super chat. That's the biggest super chat I've ever gotten. And I'm blown away. I'm very humbled. I was not expecting that. I don't do this to try and get rich, but gosh, if I could get a couple of those a week, I could probably start shutting down my law practice and being a full-time commentator on YouTube. So that really means a lot to me. God dang. Gata, I think, guys, give me a bunch of ones for Gata. Make sure to like and subscribe to Gata. That's just crazy to me. I've never seen anything like that. I'm going to tell my daughter. So what I'm doing is I'm putting this stuff in an IRA for my daughter and my son. So they'll, they see that they have a retirement account and they know that their work helping me with the channel. And then I also take part of these proceeds and I donate them to other influencers like Lane and like Reluctant Prophet. And this is a public service. So, wow, that was shocking to me. God, that was awesome. Thank you so much. God bless you. Wow, that was amazing. nobody's ever given me that much, and I never expect it. Now, but one thing before I go, if you guys are interested and you are inspired by the things that I do as a lawyer, and you too would like to help make America a better place, you could go to the description on my YouTube page and you could pick up a digital version of my ebook called My Journey to Becoming a Practicing Lawyer with No Law Degree or Undergrad. And it's basically, it's like a living ebook. So I make updates and edits and changes to it. And I talk about my journey, what the law was when I started the law study program in California. I talk about the other states that offer similar programs, so you don't have to get brainwashed at some left-wing university, and you can learn on your own, like our founding fathers did, like John Jay, like Abraham Lincoln. I encourage people to read Blackstone's commentaries on the English law. I encourage people to read Socrates and Aristotle, and I want people to really understand the basic fundamentals of what English and American common law mean. Our founding documents, all the way back to the Magna Carta, through the Confirmatio Confirmatum, through the Articles of Confederation, through the Declaration of Independence, which are incorporated by reference in our Constitution. Remember, it says in the Constitution itself, where it talks about on this such and such day of our independence, thereby incorporating our founding documents into that document. They don't teach you any of that in law school, nothing. And so what I try to do is teach people to form parallel systems, learn the law and mean to keep it well, like Thomas Aquinas wanted us to, and only elect people who don't want to be elected. Appoint people in charge of your courts, hire people as lawyers who don't want the job, but put people in front of you who are guilt-free, who are honorable, honest people. Don't ever try to go after power-hungry people and put them into power. Put someone in power who's already rich. Put someone in power who doesn't need anything. Put someone in power who doesn't really want the job but feels obligated because no one else is willing to save their country. No one else is willing to save the justice system. Someone who will only stay on the bench for a few years and get out. Get rid of these government retirements. Get rid of all these pension plans for government employees. If you want to serve the government, you should serve because you love your country. You should have your own business and your own job, and you should donate your time. You shouldn't even take a salary, in my humble opinion. Government employees, to me, have become, to a large degree, the enemy of the American people. And we need to take back this country from people who look at the taxpayer as nothing more than a stepping stone to their personal financial success. And it's just got to end. And so people like Gata One, man, I really appreciate people like you. So guys, I'm gonna head out. I've got a lot of things to do today. I've got to clean my Benelli M4. I have to clean out a couple of my AR platforms, and I have to clean a G17. I got to clean my G21. I mean, I've got a full day ahead of me just cleaning, and then meet some of my clients over at the rifle range and get down over at the Clark County rifle range later today. So wish me luck. I'm hoping to meet one of my buddies who's a retired Navy SEAL as well. He teaches me. So he's got a different shooting style than me. They teach something, it's called lollipopping. So that's where the front sight tip goes at the bottom of the target. And in the Marine Corps, they teach us, to have your sights line up like a cross in the center of the actual target. So your sight picture is a little bit different. So it's kind of interesting to learn his techniques. And I do agree that the Navy SEAL technique is much better with pistols when you're shooting on the move. And that's one thing I do like about the SEALs is there's a lot more shooting on the move, a lot of bounding movements. And so I think you need to learn both. And of course, I'm always going to go with the Marine Corps style because Marines are the best. And we have the most discipline of all of the branches combined. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree. So anyways, guys, I don't want to brag too much about being the best, but I hope you had a good time. And I'm going to make a good faith effort tomorrow to come on and get the rest of the reluctant prophet breakdown of what happened. And then again, I'll try to do it once I find out when Lane's hearing is. I'm going to do it so I work around when RP's going live or when this is a public service goes live, because I don't want to cut in to their audience. My goal here is to act as an adjunct to sort of explain things from my perspective and break down what's already happened. I'm more for the common man. I'm a common man myself who just happens to be a lawyer. I'm a blue collar guy. And I want the common man to talk about it, and then I'll break it down to try to explain to you, filter it down to try to explain it to you from my perspective after they're done with their shows. But please make sure to check out the description of this video today. I've got a link to both This Is a Public Service as well as Reluctant Prophets channels. Please make sure to like and subscribe to their channels. And also, I'm going to add a donations link to my description of this video to the Lane Myers a donor page, so you guys can donate money to Lane. And again, Gata, that was super kind of you. I can't wait to tell my daughter. She's going to be blown away. You guys are amazing. And again, I wasn't doing this because I was trying to get rich, guys. I was just doing it because there's no lawyers out there who really seem to be standing up for Lane in a positive way, other than because they're chasing clout or something. And that's just not my goal here. My goal is to give my side of the story, which I think needs to be heard, because I think it is more in line with who Lane Myers is as a person, which is a common man upon the land who's simply trying, in his own way, reclaim his rights from what he views is an abusive justice system that is stacked against him, with family members and friends who are all part of this justice system coming after him, using tax-funded courts and the tax-funded justice system that you're paying for to go after him and his family. So I really, really appreciate you guys big time. And you're right, Rami. I mean, I'm not going to say the word, but I'm very impressed by Lane, and I do think Lane rocks. Gloria Ad and James Forbes, and we got a comment here. Damn Cell Medic says, I love my Marine brothers, and they were some of the best men I got to take care of as a medic. One I have shot with, and what he can do on the move with a weapon is amazing. Well, yeah. So I'm assuming you were a Navy corpsman, Damsel Medic, and God bless you for serving alongside my brothers. And you're right that modern Marine Corps training, well, it used to be only the infantry, like us 03s, got that shoot on the move training, and we really didn't get it until we started with SOI, and then afterwards. Most of it was just basic fundamentals, snapping in, BZO, right? Not a lot of moving targets, at least not when I was in. But then later, the training started to move more towards moving targets, shooting on the move, bounding movements, and it's really gotten better. And but I got to give it to the Navy SEALs, man. These guys, they spent, I think their budget, I think like SEAL Team 6's budget just on small arms ammo or something was more, like 1 year was more than the entire Marine Corps' budget on all their ammo. It was like crazy. So these guys get a lot of rounds down range. And one of my buddies was a combat corpsman who became a Navy SEAL later, and is a super good guy. And I got to tell you, I got a lot of respect for the SEALs, man. I know they've been getting a lot of bad press, but I think they're good guys. And one thing I know about Navy SEALs is they get it. They know how disciplined. Oh, you were an Air Force medic? That's cool. So you have like not a PJ. Okay, I got you. Okay, outstanding, damsel medic. Well, look, I forgive you for being in the chair force. Just kidding. But no, if you look, anybody who served their country, especially medics, I mean, there's always a special place in my heart for you medics, because you make sure by hook or by crook, either our bodies or come home or we come home patched up. So guys, give me a bunch of ones for damsel medic. And yeah, she says that she served all services. Yeah, and I know that Air Force hospitals and Army hospitals, there were a lot of them who patched up Marines, especially after Fallujah 1 and 2. So got nothing but respect for you, ma'am. God bless you and Semper Fidelis. Let's see here. And Spin Team, Quinana Parker, Kunwa Parker, and then Pro Se American. Good seeing you. And everybody cares about you, brother, and they do care about the Second Amendment. The problem is guys like my main Second Amendment guy right now is arguing several massive cases, Alan Beck, before the Ninth Circuit. So much so that the Department of Justice, for one of the very first times in modern history, has joined one of the lawyers at my firm's motions in an amicus. So, I mean, this is a big deal, guys. We finally have a Department of Justice who appears to be supporting the Second Amendment. So this will be very interesting, with concealed carry rights now being respected just like marriage rights are across state lines. And marriage rights aren't a constitutional fundamental right. The right to keep and bear arms is. And so hopefully we'll get this settled once and for all. And all these commie judges that have done everything to destroy our Second Amendment are going to be, they're going to learn. They're going to learn real soon that we the people are what matter, and not their commie buddies who happen to get a job working for the justice system to deprive you of your right to defend your family and your freedom and your house against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So with that being said, guys, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. God bless all you guys. Talk to you soon.